Hello and welcome to The Point. I am Vishal Dahiya and today we have with us Minister of State with independent charge of Commerce and Industries, Nirmala Sitharaman. Ma'am, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
The most hotly debated topic right now is the decision of demonetization taken by your government. And this is something which is not only debated outside the parliament, but since the winter session is underway, inside parliament as well, we saw in the upper house a discussion on this began on the first day of the winter session itself. But after that, there has been a stalemate between the government and the opposition, with the opposition putting in several demands, the government not willing to go ahead and accept some of them. What is the way out? As far as the first and foremost question I have is, what is the way out for this stalemate to come to an end inside the parliament?
Well, first thing is the government is willing to discuss any matter. After all, parliament is a forum where discussion should happen. That's what we yielded to readily. On the first day, on 16th, the Lok Sabha had to adjourn because of, unfortunately, the death of a sitting member. But the Rajya Sabha worked, and there the government had readily agreed for a discussion. The discussion happened through the day and happened extensively, and the finance minister was seated through the day to hear the opposition's arguments. But suddenly come the next day, the opposition changed its goalpost. What they wanted, we granted, and we were actively engaged in it. But then they said, no, now it's not going to be continuing the discussion. We want the Prime Minister to come. The issue relates to Finance Ministry. Finance Minister was fully there attending to the debate, and he would have replied. It's a different thing that when crucial debates happen, the Prime Minister himself chooses to come and attend. The demand of the opposition was met, and almost nearing completion, when the Finance Minister had to give a reply, they didn't want it.
No, but what's the harm? Because, the opposition says that the Prime Minister...
What's the harm with what?
With agreeing the opposition's to the opposition's demand that the Prime
There's
Minister
no harm.
should at least come when the discussion is happening. Because what the opposition is making an issue out of this is saying, and there are several statements which are coming in from the opposition, both inside and outside the House, that the Prime Minister is addressing rallies, the Prime Minister is addressing concerts and making statements on this particular issue outside the House. But why not he be present inside the House when a discussion is underway? Is that something which is not going to happen?
First of all, there are no debates on these issues about who should be there, who should not be there. You asked for a debate, we have agreed. And since the Finance Ministry's matter is there and the Finance Minister is willing to reply, hear him out. You, after all, wanted it. And for your question, what's the harm? What's the harm with what? Has he not stayed in the parliament earlier to give replies or to intervene, or where he thought it was important, he joined in the debate? Prime Minister has done that. But to suddenly then come the next morning to say, oh, the Prime Minister is talking to the people in Gorakhpur, kahin or, so why doesn't he talk to the parliament? Is just misleading the public. The Prime Minister, are they suggesting should not be talking to the public? Are they suggesting that he should not be attending public rallies? Are the public who are assembling in these rallies not the Indian public? What is the opposition trying to suggest? They give us a feeling that I'll dictate the terms, we in the opposition will dictate the terms. Irrespective of what you've agreed to, every day it might be different. Isn't that kind of impression coming out? What I'm suggesting here is nothing new. Please listen to the debate. Answers will be given. You want the Prime Minister to come, make your point. Definitely, the Parliament, both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, the Prime Minister has participated in debates. What is the new call that you're making?
Okay.
And to have to even use the words that he's running away from the parliament, excuse me. I don't want to go back to this, brickbat of I throw something, you throw something back to me, but matter of fact, how many times has the Prime Minister intervened earlier? Not in this government, earlier governments. So, if you think your arguments are weakening out, if you think that there's not much of a substance in what you're wanting to claim, to get out, to have a window to exit, mustn't search for opportunities.
Okay, let's come to the points which the opposition is making as far as the policy of demonetization, the decision of demonetization is concerned. Let's take them one by one quickly. One of the argument the opposition has given during the course of the discussion on the first day itself, several opposition leaders have stated so in their speeches, and outside also they've said that the stated motive of this particular decision of the NDA government was to curb black money. But the black money component in cash is relatively very small, and by doing this, the kind of trouble which the common people are going through, the amount of that is much larger than what the nation stands to gain through putting a check on that component, the cash component of the black money.
I'm not sure what is the assessment of what is the black money component of these high denomination note which the opposition is referring to. But the stated objective is very clear: to contain black money, to make sure counterfeit currencies don't spoil our economy, and those counterfeit which are coming in are funding operations which are against the national interest, be it terrorism, be it youth being driven to drugs, be it any other movement which is going on, whether fight against the state or whatever. So to then say suddenly, oh, the component of black money in this cash component which is circulating is minuscule, why do you want to attack it? It's just surprising that opposition which went on asking this government, what steps are you taking to curb black money, be it inside the country or outside? That opposition, which I'm sure many of us have been reminding, 3 years after the Supreme Court passed an order saying form an SIT, did not even form the SIT, but their term was over. And this government, the first decision that we take in the cabinet is to form the SIT, following it up with very many steps of containing black money, be it in this country or outside. This is also one of the steps. And to undermine this by saying, oh my God, why do you want to do this? Because it's going to address a small component. I'm not saying everything that which was circulating in 500 and 1000 denomination were all black money. But the fact is, leave the black money argument for a minute aside. The fact is, 5,000 lakh crores have come into the banks, which were not earlier seen in the banks. At least you're getting them into institutionalized mechanisms.
Okay, one more argument which is given by the opposition is with respect to the release of the 2000 denomination currency notes. The argument is that by releasing this higher denomination currency, it's going to make it really easier for the corrupt to launder their black money, to stash it away. It's going to make it a little easier for them. If the idea to call back 500 and 1000 rupee denomination notes was to put a stop on the black money, then how is the government justifying introduction of 2000 rupee note?
See, what has happened now, however much you may refer to it as demonetization any number of times, two denominations, 500 and 1000, have been made no longer legal tender. All right, you've taken them out of the system. Because of the various reasons that today, let's not forget the fact that of the total currency which is circulating in this country, the denominations 500 and 1000 put together constitute 86% of all that is circulating. Now, by withdrawing this, not just because they are 86%, but many of which was not even coming into the circulation at all, many of them not coming back to the banks at all. And the figure of the currencies which have now got deposited into the banks explains the fact that till now that wasn't even reaching the banks. Now, the intention of the government is not to withdraw 500,000, make people live only with the rest 14%, which is in 100, in 50, in 10 denominations. We are not talking that. You need currencies. When we talk about, I don't know how this came to be, cashless society. It's not cashless society. It is talking about less cash society, where you're talking about maximum number of transactions be done institutionally, digitally, using the bank as a mechanism, by checks, by cards, by now you have the system of internet banking and so on, so that every transaction somewhere gets tracked down. Whereas when you're doing it through currency notes, large quantities of it, when you're doing it through currency notes, never come into the picture. As a result, like if you look at it, developed economies, the cash to the total GDP ratio is somewhere in the range of 4%. Whereas in India, we are still talking about 12 to 14%. So when you're looking at making people move towards what is wrongly called cashless, but what I would say less cash society, is it's not to say there will not be any cash based transaction at all. There will be for a cup of coffee, for a cup of tea, or some petty expenditure. Yes, but not to have almost a parallel economy which doesn't get tracked at all somewhere. So this whole attempt of withdrawing the 500,000, but of course introducing 2,000 and also the new 500, is to flush out where you had a considerable quantity of counterfeit coming in, a considerable quantity which has never come back to the banks, so that with the newer and monitoring them, keeping them to a limited extent, you will be able to monitor the economy better.
Okay, let's take a short break here, and when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with MOS with Independent Charge of Commerce and Industry, Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman. Welcome back. Nirmala Sitharaman, the MOS Independent Charge of Commerce and Industry, is still with us. Ma'am, let's slightly move towards the the economic part, as well as the problems being faced by the common man. And once again, the opposition has also made this one of their flashpoint of one of their arguments, is that this is causing a lot of trouble to the common man, wherein the argument from the opposition is that there was a selective leak. Certain people who were close to the government, or maybe were close to the ruling party, were aware of this move. They have had their share of advanced information to exchange notes, whereas the poor people are the ones who are now standing in queues for almost 2 weeks.
There is certainly inconvenience which was felt by the poor, by the low middle class, by people who are dependent on cash. There is no denying that. And the desire of the government, the effort of the government, was to rush more cash to such areas where the pressure was more on the banks. The ATM recalibration has also taken a bit of time. The process is still on. 2 lakh ATMs will have to be recalibrated. Now it's happening at a faster pace. Therefore, I'm not for a minute, or the government is not for a minute, forgetting the fact that the public, the citizens, have been standing in queues to get their money, and difficulties were faced by them. There's no denying that, I repeat. However, I would have thought the opposition, even as they highlight these issues, should also see what the government has been doing. First of all, it's an outrage that they think that the government has leaked to select people the information. First of all, it's outrageous, but I also want to laugh at it because they are contradicting themselves. At one point, they say, oh, you have not, the secrecy has been so much, the Prime Minister has not taken any one of them into confidence, he has not even told his Finance Minister. On the other hand, they say, oh no, he selectively. Would they make up their mind, please? What is it that they're trying to convey? If there was no secrecy, would you have, at a national scale, not have had somebody smell, oh, this is happening? One. Second, also to say, oh, there should have been greater preparation. If there was no preparation, along with the secrecy which has got to be kept up, with the RBI also having to follow certain protocol before the release of the currency, would the 2000 be in the market today? Would the new 500 come into the market today? Printing of currency is a mammoth task.
But do you feel that the preparations were enough? Do you feel that this could have been done in slightly in a much better way, given the fact that also there have been several amendments to the original notification which was put in on 8th of November, several rollbacks, several amendments, and several pointers which have been put in place once, such as the limit of the exchange, which was hiked on a particular day, and the next day it was brought down to 2,000 rupees. A little bit of caution must have been taken.
Several things. First of all, you said a bit of rollback. There has not been a rollback at all of any kind. One. Second, with hindsight, it will be easy for any one of us to say, oh, couldn't we have planned the ATMs better? Couldn't we have planned the queues better? Agreed. But then when you're taking a major decision like this, with so many different parties which have to do their bit without the element of secrecy going out, you can go that far and not any further. You have printed your currencies. They have to reach all the, first of all, the currency chest to which the Reserve Bank sends the money. They are all over the country. After that, from the currency chest, it moves to different treasuries and to the banks. These are exercises of a mammoth proportion. So, when you're doing it this far, certainly there will be some, I'm sure, as we are seeing it now, gaps for which the comment that you made, that you're coming up with every day something, some
amendments, and
they're not amendments. If in the ground people do feel that this is the inconvenience, this government is responding to that. That which is unforeseen, that which has got to be amended quickly, and therefore you're responding to say, oh right, you have a problem here, we'll do this. That couldn't have been anticipated.
Okay, one, you spoke about, government responding to the inconvenience. One inconvenience which is now being pointed out is to the latest notification which has been given by the RBI on the issue of, letting people withdraw 2.5 lakh rupees in case there is a marriage in the family. I have this RBI's notification in my hand, and people say that it's really harsh to ask people to bring a list of those to whom the cash will be given, and take a declaration from them that they do not have a bank account. Do you also believe that such measures could have been made a little more people friendly, specifically when it comes to
on this? Certainly the Finance Minister has announced. By now, anything else, any other development, I wouldn't be aware. But the Finance Minister has certainly said, if there are these conditions by which it is being made more difficult for people whose houses are planning for a wedding, he would review it. But then the fact that I go back to your previous question where you said, this whole decision which was for exchange of 4,000 rupees, and then it was brought down within a day to 2,000. No, it wasn't brought down within a day. 4,000 was for cash swaps, where people went with certain old currency and they wanted the new currency
to be given. Exchange that much.
The legal tender was to be exchanged as cash. They could be people who have nothing to do with the bank or the branch. They could be people without account in their branch. They could just go and ask for exchanging what they are giving in terms of a different currency, swapping money. That went on for some time, and when the reports were coming that maybe people are misusing it, maybe people are repetitively coming and taking money, which was not envisaged, then after a certain number of days, it was brought down. Even then, it was not completely wiped out. Even then, it was not completely to say, no, you can't any longer.
So this was done to plug loopholes, that's what you're saying. Okay.
Every response was in reaction to what was coming in as an input.
One more suggestion which is coming in, and from the political parties as well as from farmers organizations as well, is to allow cooperative banks. Now they were left out in the initial notification. As of now also they left out. They are not part of this entire exercise. They're not allowed to exchange the money. They're not allowed to accept the 500 and 1000 rupee note as well. There seems to be a lot of suggestion on this aspect. Is the government considering this suggestion? Will there be some sort of for the moment on that?
As far as cooperatives are concerned, I think there is some discussion going on. I can't prejudge what is going to come, but I know the inputs which have come as regards cooperatives. Certainly some discussions are going on. But as for the farmers, you already know because of the inputs which came, and I'm glad today the farm minister in charge of agriculture, Shri Radha Mohan Singh, has already said in the parliament today, and therefore I'll be happy to say, the whole issue of farmers are in difficulty, this is sowing season, he proved it, taking the example of 18th November 2016, which is this year, comparing it with 18th November 2015, saying the impression which public are being told by certain people that farmers are not being able to sow is disproved by the fact that for wheat, that for oil seeds, and that for dals, pulses, the sowing extent, the acreage of land is far higher this year than compared with last year. He's made a statement with figures. So, notwithstanding that, despite this kind of statistics, the government has made amendments so that the farmers can also benefit by buying seeds with cash.
But on the economic activity front, won't you agree that there has been a disruption in economic activity, specifically in rural markets? The kind of say hustle and bustle, also it's the kind of activity which was seen, that has come down considerably because of two factors. One, the non-availability of that much cash, since 86% of the currency has been demonetized. Two is that people who have 100 rupee notes or 50 rupee notes, some of them are holding on to them. So the velocity of the currency has also come down. Won't you agree on these two parts?
Well, obviously, as I said, just as we are seized of the fact that people stood in queues, they went through trouble, information is also with the government about during those days, between the 10th and about 17th, because by which time enough currency notes hadn't reached banks, hadn't reached some of the ATMs. There was wholesale mandis and places like that where cash only worked all this while. There was a lull in activity. We are aware of that. But we are also conscious that today many of these markets have revived because more cash is reaching them. Many of them have realized that it is possible to have net payments. Smaller, I'm sure you're conscious, in markets in Chennai, where women vegetable vendors have put a board saying you can pay through this platform. Some wallet, some that e-swipe, M-swipe, which is available in India, the squares with which you identify and go. So people, the most unexpected of people that you would quote, saying they are suffering, have also very quickly adopted to now non-cash payments. The digital transformation of India had happened. Now today, yes, we are going through these difficulties, but moving to alternative platforms of payment is actually happening by those sections who we are repeatedly saying, oh my God, they're going through difficulty. Yes, as regards quick changeover, there was a disruption.
One question.
But they are the ones who are adapting faster than we would imagine.
Okay, one question which I have right now and which everybody would want to know is that, and which the finance minister in his address to the parliamentary party might have also indicated, is the fact that 86% of the currency was demonetized and which was in circulation, and almost around 5 lakh crore rupees is already with the banks, say in the first 10 to 12 days. What is the threshold once which is achieved, the curbs on all the banking transactions, the withdrawals, or for any particular purpose, or cash withdrawals or ATM withdrawals will be lifted, as in all curbs will be lifted? Is there a particular threshold which has been finalized by the government, or can we see that happening soon?
Well, the point is, you're right in saying 86% have been now made no longer legal tender. Very well. And the government is also rapidly issuing the newer replacement currencies, whether of 500 or 2000, rapidly to all the banks, but that does consume time. As I said, the Reserve Bank will have to move it to the currency chest and the currency chest to the institutions and so on. I don't think the threshold exists in terms of what is coming into the banks. Because you said it together with, this much lakhs of currency has already come into the banks, and therefore is there a threshold. I don't think that's the way we are looking at. More currency will have to reach people, and the ease will come in. As was earlier announced, till December 30th, we expect people to come with their cash to the banks. But in the meanwhile, we have already started issuing more currency. And every day you find newer sections who are voicing their concerns are also being reached out to. Farmers are getting it. On the cooperatives, there's some discussion going on. We've already responded about the weekly withdrawals. As it is, on your check payments or on your internet-based payments, there is no limit.
No limit. There is no cap. So you're not putting a date to it. You're not putting
Absolutely
a timeline
not,
to
but
it, figure to it. But then people can, easily hope that soon all these curbs will be lifted.
Obviously, because it can't last for too long. One, and second, you already see that the queues in the banks are tapering out.
Okay, so let's hope that the situation will improve in the coming days. So this was MOS Independent Charge of Commerce and Industry, Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman, in a freewheeling conversation with us on the issue of demonetization. We'll come back next week with a different guest on a different topic. Till then, keep watching Rajya Sabha Television.